us on the mic, talking life and what's alike. Middle age, it's quite the ride, finding joy and chasing pride. Career dreams and daily grind, funny moments that we find. Letting go of yesterday, making paths along the way. Middle age.
Hey everybody. Hi, Tim.
Lift off.
Yes. Good to see you, Trav.
Good to see you, Tim. Tim, why don't you tell everybody where you are?
I am in Atlantic City.
This is our first remote recording. Look at you.
It is. And I'm doing it on my phone, so I hope that the quality is okay. It may even be better. Maybe it turns out that those obnoxious headphones that I wear are actually not helping.
You actually have to be in Atlantic City from now on. Sorry.
I hope not. So I'm in a pretty nice hotel, I think. It has a casino downstairs, which
naturally
not my favorite place to be, but I came down for the day for a board conference. So surrounded by board members from all over the state of New Jersey. And
nice.
There's some good material that's shared, so I'm grateful for that.
Good.
But it's a nice, just I guess, day away from all the chaos and normal day-to-day grind. So I'll take it.
Is it just an overnight?
Yeah, it's actually 3 days, but I only come down for this one day. We do a board dinner at night too, which is really nice. So it's great to be together outside of the boardroom just for a little bit. We don't get that experience.
Do you have to speak at this thing?
No, I don't have to, but I do as much as possible.
You just grab the mic on the stage.
Yeah, I spoke to 4 empty rooms today.
Oh, that's fun. That's good.
Yeah, just for the heck of it.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's
thanks so much though. But maybe next time you can come with me.
I would love that.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
That would be great. So tell me what's going on your end. Tell me about, do we start with Awesome Wife? I can't remember.
Well, actually, before we get to that, we have to remind people why we're here.
Thank you. Please do.
For those who've been here before, and an intro for the first-time listeners, the Tim and Trav podcast is basically about life in our 40s and transitions and everything in between. So welcome, everybody.
Last week, we solved all of life's mysteries.
Every single one of them. Go back to episode 108. We solved them all. So that leads us to hair care tech product review. What you got?
Well, I'll fill you in next week. I'm going to try the shampoo here tomorrow morning and see if it does anything.
Are you a guy that travels with shampoo and stuff of your own, or do you just use the...
Do I look like a guy who travels with my own shampoo?
I'd consider everyone around you lucky if you brought soap.
I only brought toothpaste, to be honest with you, and my toothbrush, of course. I travel with this little spot. You know what's funny at this conference today? They have like an exhibitor hall, and they probably had 100 different vendors. All sorts of different companies, everything from insurance agents to architects to playground equipment designers. And everybody gave something away. You could walk out with just bags of pens and notebooks and all that other like squishy balls and things like that.
How many stress balls did you get?
I literally walked out with nothing.
You don't like free promo swag stuff?
I hate it. It's the worst. It actually, I think it's awful. Yeah. So anyway, sorry. So I'll try the shampoo and I'll report back. How about you? Do you have any updates?
Nothing. Still bald. Still nothing.
Nothing's working.
You know what? It is what it is. We do actually have some listener comments, though. Can I read them to you?
Oh, that'd be great, man. And I have one, too, when you're done.
All right. I'm not going to read the whole thing because he had a lot of really nice thoughts and so forth in here. But the first one is from Jeff. He said, "You guys are very courageous to take on a topic that many are feeling, but have no forum to hear or share. Glad you have found a way to share all real life rather than the quote-unquote highlight reel and highly skewed view that social media portrays most of the time. You're not alone in trying to navigate changes of life in all aspects. It's real and happens to us all, whether it's thrust upon us or self-inflicted." And he goes on to share quite a few other insights and really valuable input, and also some suggestions, which I'm going to get to in a little bit. But Jeff, thank you for writing in. I appreciate that. And we definitely take what you say to heart. If you have comments, please send them to us at timandtravpodcast@gmail.com, or you can put them in the listener comments wherever you're listening. Tim, did you have one?
I did, yeah, and I wanted to thank Jeff as well. My comment came from a friend. I'm not going to disclose her name. It was a text, and all it said was, hold on, I'm trying to remember because I don't have it in front of me right now. Oh, it said dog share ?
You're still trying to make this thing happen, aren't you?
Well, Trav, I spoke to someone tonight when I was out later this evening who thought it was a really good idea.
Were they trying to sell you insurance?
No, they were not trying to sell me anything. They weren't trying to give me anything. They're actually a friend who I trust. And she felt it was really, that I may be onto something. So I'll leave it on the table, man.
All right. Well, there's probably an app for it. Let's do it.
Not yet.
Not yet. All right. Well, speaking of great things, do you have an awesome wife moment?
I do, yeah. I will. Didn't you say you had a second comment, though?
Oh, I do, actually. And it's from one of our OG listeners.
Yes.
Mom, Nancy. She said, great episode yesterday. She's referring to episode 108. And she said, I think the show has very insightful discussions. I do think the quote-unquote universe is telling you something, Travis.
Wow. She has been referring to me as the universe for so long.
Yes, you've been trying to tell me something forever.
And you won't listen.
I don't. I just don't. I'm sorry. I've learned.
I don't blame you. I like what her comments. I love your mom, and I love hearing from her. It's so nice that she continues to write in.
I agree. And listen. I mean, come on. That's dedication right there.
That's amazing. That's very sweet. So
Day
you want to
listener.
Can you share your awesome wife moment?
I can.
Cool.
For those listening, either current or later on, just know that we are 2 weeks out from the presidential election of 2024.
Uh-oh, you're bringing up politics. Dude.
I'm not. I promise.
Okay.
I promise not to do this.
Fair enough.
As it ties into an awesome wife moment, though, we have, as we've mentioned in the past, we have 2 kids, soon to be 11-year-old and a 6-year-old. And, as is everything in this world right now, it's really hard to shield them from everything, right? Like either it's discussions on the playground like there always have been, or it's, just the incessant ads on television. Like we were watching playoff baseball. Oh my gosh. Every single ad was political. And it was from both sides and all that. And it brings up a lot of questions, right? There's a lot of divisive discussions. There's like a really somewhat mean-spirited talking points in a lot of these things. And it's tough when you've got little ears around, right? Little ears and little eyes. So my awesome wife moment is the fact that Kristen jumps in and very calmly and very evenly and very patiently explains things to our kids about real life issues. And she doesn't guard them from it. There's no like, oh, you don't need to worry about that, or, like just you're too young. There's none of that. There's no dismissing at all. And she talks about it in very real terms, and they've learned to go to mom and ask like, hey, what does this mean? So that's my awesome wife moment, is just watching her do that. I weigh in from time to time, but she does a much better job of just getting on their level, explaining it, and then, answering any questions or, that's my awesome wife moment. She's doing it's pretty awesome to watch. And it's hard. We're, for those who don't know what it's like in Ohio, it's kind of split and there's a lot. So the ads and the signs and the everything is everywhere. It's like it's completely unavoidable. So she does a really great job of just leveling with the kids, explaining things, imparting our opinions here and there. But, she's just really, really good at that.
That's really impressive. And it's not easy to do. So
no, it's not.
You're lucky that you have someone in your house that can pull that off. Yeah.
I'm very lucky for a lot of reasons. So what about you?
Yeah, that's interesting. I continue to be overwhelmed. My awesome wife moment, I continue to be overwhelmed with the amount of information that Christy can retain and how she acts on it. I mean, the kids come home and tell her things. There's a million things going on at any point, right? Any person with young kids knows this. The amount of activities, the updates from school, doctor's appointments, vaccinations, just the list goes on dentist appointments. Honestly, these kids would be doomed if she weren't around. I mean, it is fascinating that she can continue to retain on top of everything else that she has going on. She
Sure.
retains so. Oh, I got to get Connor this. He has a dentist appointment in 2 weeks, or I have to get this scheduled for this. You know, I cannot do that at all. I'll give you. It's funny. I was leaving my hotel room. This is kind of like a little depressing, but I was leaving my hotel room to go down and meet my group earlier, and I took a picture of the number of my room that outside my door because I was worried that I wouldn't remember what number it was.
Because Christy wasn't there to hold your hand.
Exactly. I mean, like that's not good, right? Like I shouldn't be there quite yet, but I was like, I gotta safeguard myself. Like I gotta find because I mean, I could have taken the card where they wrote my room number on it, but I just didn't. So I took a picture. Anyways, I just am so continuously impressed by her ability to retain information and keep things moving in the right direction, and I'm so grateful for that.
That's great. Do you think she does that out of necessity because she knows you can't?
There's a good chance that that's the case. Now, I have been reflecting on this, however, and I do want to make this point, and I think she would be the first to say this as well. I do a lot, and I know you do as well, to contribute to the day-to-day activity and to meeting the needs that must occur,
Yeah.
for us to all be well. So, Christy doesn't have to worry about groceries or cleaning or cooking or, I do everything in my power to like keep that moving in the right direction, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
But I think if you were to kind of, put it on a scale between what she's managing and what I'm managing, it's a little, I mean, it may be you can't even compare it, but anyways, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I do. Absolutely know what you're saying. That's great.
Yeah.
Can you go back to back? Do you have something awesome you've seen, read,
I have a couple things and I'm kind of like gonna associate these loosely with the word awesome because they're kind of more fascinating to me. I was in a conversation with my buddy Alex over the weekend. We were at a Red Bulls game, and he was telling me about, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, cryotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't know if you've tried that, Trav. If you know people who've done it, it's
Mm-hmm.
essentially like a cold chamber that he and I mean a lot of people I think go in for 3 minutes or something,
Mm-hmm.
and it sounded like the worst thing in the world to me. I can't even imagine. But what's interesting as I get a little bit older is, I started playing soccer, for instance, on Saturday mornings. It's so much fun with adults.
Mm-hmm.
I took a knock last Saturday that I'm still feeling. Like I think I may have like bruised my rib cage or cracked a rib. It hurts so bad. And it's terrible. I've gone home now and I drink like 2 glasses of milk every night because I think that it's going to make me stronger, right? I feel like I'm getting brittle. So when he's telling me about, and this may have nothing to do with cryotherapy, but it did make me wonder, gosh, I wonder if doing something like that would actually help address some of the pain that I'm feeling in my
Probably.
joints and in other parts of my body as I get older. Not
Mm-hmm.
exactly sure, but kind of curious by the whole thing. So I thought that was unique. And then this is really stupid, but I was driving down here this morning early and I was driving down the Garden State Parkway. And I'll tell you, man, for anybody in this part of the country right now, the leaves, with as autumn and fall really set in, it's just beautiful. And I wish
Yeah.
that I spent more time really like stopping to appreciate it because the colors and it's just really nice. So it's just a word of encouragement for people to take a moment and look outside if they could.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. How about you?
I'm going to actually piggyback on your last one.
Right on.
We have enjoyed a really nice transition into fall lately, and it's really been in like the last few days where it really, like the leaves are actually turning and they're starting to fall. And it took a little while. Plus, we're a little bit closer to the lake, so we're usually kind of late bloomers, literally. And watching my 6-year-old run through the leaves is good for the soul.
Mm.
It is like the joy that she has with it is so simple and so pure that it's just like, yeah, that was cool. Like, and she does, she doesn't do it as a show. She does it out of pure joy. It's not for me, it's for her. And it's awesome. So that was, we've seen it now a couple times and she just can't get enough of it. So that was my fun, awesome thing.
That's so cool. You know what I always think about now when I see kids do that? I wonder how many dogs peed in those leaves.
Well, these weren't leaf piles. These
Okay.
were like out in the middle of a field that's near our house. So hopefully not many.
That's great. We've been, we're very fortunate to have trees in our backyard, and so, but they do require a bit of work, and when the leaves come down and rake them into piles, and it's so sad. I'm like turning into this grouch. I find myself, wanting to do exactly what you just said in terms of letting my kids play in there, but I'm warning them every time before they jump in. Like, please, kids, think about what might be inside there. That's terrible, right?
Well, I mean, you got to kind of watch out for them too.
They'll be fine. I'm being like obnoxious. It's on me.
I get it though.
Yeah.
I understand.
Quick question on because I know how close you live to the water. Are people still swimming in the lake?
Not really. No, it
No.
got a little bit too cold for that.
Yeah.
No, it's kind of like usually September is about the end of it because it's like and you can go and stand up paddleboard and stuff like that, which is fun. But
Oh, you better hope you don't fall in.
Yeah, exactly. It gets real cold.
Yeah.
So yeah, not so much. But plus the wind picks up with fall a little bit, and it's not something you want to be.
And do people in your town do any of those Arctic plunges?
It's funny you mentioned the cryotherapy because there is a group here that does. Obviously, they don't wait. They wait until like January or February, I think. But there are people that walk out on the ice and jump in it. I personally don't, but
we should do an episode and film you jumping in. I would love to watch that.
Can I circle back on the cryotherapy for a second, though?
Please, yeah.
So cryotherapy is different though than like an ice bath. Is that true?
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely. I mean, you're standing in like a chamber. There's no ice involved, so it's a regulated temperature that I don't remember what number he said it was, in terms of negative, but I think you can only go in for like 3 minits. So, it's not something people are doing every day. I don't think this is once a week or
right.
But I've heard people talk about like cold showers and things of that nature. That does not appeal to me. I have no desire.
I've done a bunch of cold baths before. I actually like ice baths.
Really? They sell, this is a good point because they're selling, believe it or not, Costco is selling, hold on. I saw at Costco a ice bath for sale, inflatable ice bath.
Yeah, I know.
That means that it's huge.
That's true. You're absolutely right. If it has hit Costco floors, that means it's like a thing. That's true.
I would never. I don't think you could pay me enough money to get inside one of those.
Really?
No joke. Yeah.
One of my favorite things is to do a workout and then go in a sauna and then jump in an ice bath.
Wow.
The look you just gave me.
You and I every time we talk, I realize how little we have in common.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right. Any sponsors this week? Did we finally get the one I've been asking for?
Dyson? No.
Yeah.
No one's called from Dyson. Sorry,
shucks.
man. But that leads us to the fact that we need followers. We gotta get Tim his Dyson mention. So anybody out there, if you share it with a friend, like, subscribe, all those things, the more the merrier. If they can tolerate us, we gotta get Tim a Dyson.
That's the goal.
Should we skip on over to our guest?
That'd be great. Yeah. This is an exciting guest too for us, right? Because it's our first international guest. Ryan is joining us from Madagascar, where he has lived for, almost the past 20 years. He can break it down a little bit more when he jumps on here. But Ryan is also trying to start his own company right now, which is really exciting. So it's an awesome opportunity for us to be able to talk to someone in the early stages to hear how it is going, from an early entrepreneurial perspective. I think there's been a lot of challenges, and this will be a great conversation. All right, so we've made it. We are here with our first international guest and our only international listener. No pressure, Ryan. It's great to have Ryan Kelley here, who is joining us from Madagascar. So it's very exciting to have him with us, and he is in the midst of an exciting venture that has occurred there. But Ryan, maybe first, could you tell us a little bit about how you got to Madagascar?
I first came to Madagascar as a Peace Corps volunteer. So after I graduated from undergrad, joined the Peace Corps and came here initially on a 2-year assignment and have spent 15 of the last 20 years here.
That's awesome.
And when you weren't in Madagascar, you were living in other African countries.
Yeah, I was back in the States for 18 months, but then I was in Mozambique for that bridge period.
Is it fair to say that when you went down for the Peace Corps, you fell in love with it and never wanted to leave, or what drew you to return after just 18 months?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So maybe a little bit more detail. I did Peace Corps for 2 years and had a really great time and decided to spend a third year. Applied for grad schools and didn't get into, there wasn't a good fit. So I stayed a fourth year as I was applying to schools and just had a good time, got into an MBA program in the States. And I was like, all right, that's it. I'm going to go back to the States. I'm going to study business, and never thought I would return. But when I was in the MBA program, I was in a lot of classes and I loved my classmates. I thought what we were doing was fascinating, but joining a traditional 9-to-5, sitting in a building wasn't going to fit me. So I started a company to help rural energy companies access carbon markets. And I thought I'd be based in the States. My first client was here in Madagascar, helped them get that set up, and it just got sucked back in. I mean, I speak the language and I could connect what was happening here with stuff in the States. So just opportunities just kept popping up, and I've tried to leave twice and kind of got boomeranged back both times.
And what were you doing in the Peace Corps? Like, what was your function in the Peace Corps?
Yeah, so my first year, there's two waves of that. My first year, I was teaching in a very remote area. So I was a plane ride and then a 7-hour drive from the capital and 8-9 hours from the next English speaker. So just in a remote area, teaching English in the middle of the desert. Had a great time, great community, had a lot of fun. And at the end of my first year, my site had to be switched. And there was an ecological center that had opened up a program to train environmental technicians. And they had funding from the MacArthur Foundation in the States. And the guy who was supposed to run it got cerebral malaria and had to be evacuated from the country. So 2 weeks before school was supposed to start, they called Peace Corps and said, could you send us somebody, please? So I showed up and I was like the dean of the school. I was the janitor. It was like a one-man show for a little bit. And it was pretty cool because we started up a university program. We had great advisors. We had a curriculum, brought in teachers. The program ended up running for about 18 years. So lasted a long time, trained a lot of people. So I taught English in a rural school and I started up a university. So that's the adventures you can have in Madagascar.
That's incredible.
Ryan's a pretty impressive dude. I wanted to mention real quickly, when he was home for that 18-month window getting his master's, I saw him a couple times. And I started writing letters to the Malagasy government immediately asking to take him back because I said, I'll pay for his plane ticket if you get him out of here. So that worked out well.
What a nice guy.
Yeah. So no, Ryan's done amazing things, and it's almost, Trav, we almost don't even have enough time to really kind of encapsulate all of the work and his tremendous effort that he's done. But what I do want to talk about is most recently, his most recent project, which is massive. So Ryan, maybe you could fill us in a little bit about what you're doing.
Yeah. So about a year and a half ago, I ventured out and just wanted to do a startup. And I've been in Madagascar a long time, and there's just infinite opportunities, especially if you can connect things here with international markets. And I've got a passion for coffee. Notice you just took a sip, Tim. And there were all these stories of really good coffee in Madagascar. But if you drink coffee here, it doesn't taste that good. So the way coffee is consumed here is you roast it very dark, you almost carbonize it, and then you add a lot of milk and sugar. So if you're drinking it with milk and sugar, it tastes great. If you're drinking it black, it's pretty harsh. So heard about all this great coffee. Didn't know a lot about coffee myself, but drove around the country to all the communities I could find that were growing coffee. Bought samples. And then I went to these trained Q graders, coffee graders, and got the coffee tested. And they said, wow, like the genetics of this coffee, the varieties is really, really good. But the processing is really, really bad. So I said, whoa, we could do something about that. So a buddy of mine and I, we founded a company. And essentially we're aggregating smallholder farmers that grow coffee. They're traditionally limited to local markets. So sometimes price is high, sometimes price is low, price is not very stable. And we say, hey, look, we can contract it with you. We'll offtake your coffee, give you a good price, and we'll take care of the processing. So we started that up. We just had our first harvest between June and August of this year. Sent our coffee off again to fancy coffee tasters, and we've gotten really good feedback. So we're selling to specialty roasters in the US, in Europe, and in Japan. So it's been a really good first year. We worked with 160 farmers, and we're looking to be between 1,500 and 2,000 farmers next year. So hoping for some big jumps in terms of coffee and impact.
That's incredible.
Wait, I want to mention real quickly the name of your company, Madagascar Coffee Company, which we'll get into more in a moment. Ryan, before you were doing what you're doing now, what was happening to the beans that were being harvested? Were they primarily being just used by the people who were doing the work?
In short, a lot of the coffee is being used for local consumption. So a lot of the farmers we work with, they've got 10, 20, 30 coffee trees on the side of their house, and the coffee trees are just there. And they give a couple of coffee cherries, they convert that into dried coffee beans, and they'll consume it locally, give it out to friends and family. A lot of people say you sell half your coffee so you can buy sugar and milk, and then you use that to mix with the half that you keep. So a lot of people were just using it themselves. But the thing about coffee is, well, our farmers were getting about 65 grams of green coffee per tree. And, global averages are going to vary, but it's about 500 grams of green coffee per tree that you should be getting. So the trees, there wasn't enough shade, there wasn't fertilizer, they weren't being pruned. So this is where we've come in and we're like, okay, you've got 30 trees and you can still get coffee to drink at your house. You should enjoy coffee too. We enjoy it. But let us help you with good agricultural practices. So let's get shade on there. Let's get fertilizer. Let's prune the trees. Let's increase the output by 10. And then you've got plenty of coffee to drink at your house and we've got coffee to buy. So that's been the negotiation with farmers. And so far it's gone really well. They're really excited to be able to sell at a good price. It diversifies livelihoods. Madagascar is one of the poorest countries in the world. I actually think it's the poorest country that's not at war. And it's one of the only countries, if not the only country, that's decreased in GDP per capita over the last 20 years. So by one of the largest measures of wealth or income, Madagascar is the only one that's gotten poorer over the past 20 years.
So in terms of your personal background of being able to help these farmers and then obviously help the process along the way, do you come at this with a lot of what you mentioned in my uneducated brain is agriculture. A lot of what you talked about is farming there. Do you personally come to the table with that kind of experience in the past, or are these things you just taught yourself over time to then move forward with Madagascar Coffee Company?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the 3 years before this, I worked in cacao and vanilla. So it was agricultural supply chains. I'm not an agricultural technician, but I learned there's a lot of really good ag techs here.
Hmm.
And so we recruited them, brought them on the team. We've been very, very lucky that we've connected
Hmm.
with a lot of really smart people internationally that are giving us global best practices. And then
Hmm.
the team's trying to figure out how to adapt that to the context. So what I've focused on is how to connect the market. So if we have farmers with coffee on the side of their house, and we can figure out how to improve their yields and improve the processing to get a good quality green coffee bean. How do we link that to coffee importers in the US, Europe, Southeast Asia that are willing to pay a good price? And when you can
Hmm.
connect those buyers that value good coffee, that has a great social and environmental impact with smallholder farmers, then all of a sudden we think we're onto something in terms of building a business.
And did you have like an aha moment? Obviously, with your background in cacao and things like that, you're very steeped in the knowledge of local ag and so forth. Did you have like an aha moment of like, were you sipping a crappy cup of coffee, there going, man, they're doing this all wrong. I can help. Or did you like, what was your moment of like, I'm taking the leap? Because one of the things we talk about a lot is
Mm.
transitions and how to continue on and evolve. Is there a moment or a realization that made you really click in and say, all right, I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to go research. I'm going to go collect samples and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, aha moment. So, I was looking across a number of different opportunities on what to develop. A good buddy of mine, Jim, he says, "Hey, we got to look at coffee. Look at coffee." He'd been working in coffee value chains here, working with smallholder farmers for about 8 years, and I didn't know what the potential was. And there was a gentleman that had run a coffee company here before, and they grew coffee. So worked in a remote community, had a coffee farm, and they participated in what's called Taste of Harvest Africa. So it's a very prestigious coffee tasting competition. The best coffees in Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, countries with great reputations for coffee participate, and it's a blind tasting test. And the first and only year they participated, they won first prize. So I was like, wow, wait a second. Here we are, we're in a country that's by many measures impoverished, that lacks access to a lot of markets, and they're kind of sitting on gold. Like we've got these really unique varieties of Arabica that can be processed to great quality, but no one's doing it. And that was part of the opportunity was there's very few people working in coffee here, especially for export markets. And I said, hey, if I could do something, if I could leave an impact, if I could build something, this would be pretty cool. So that's what drew me into coffee.
That is awesome. I think when you first started telling me about this, Ryan, you had challenged me in a way to check my local grocery store and see whether or not any of the coffee that was on the shelf was from Madagascar, because there is very little coffee that's being exported out of the country.
Yeah. Madagascar used to be one of the world's largest exporters till the 1990s, and then there was some companies were nationalized, and Vietnam and Brazil, who supply the vast majority of the world's coffee, it kind of came on the market that time, and export market just collapsed. So in the past, let's say 20 years, there's been very little coffee exported. And that's been a cool opportunity for us because when we go to, especially coffee roasters, anybody in specialty coffee, and you offer Madagascar, just the intrigue of, hey, it's a new origin, new variety, haven't tried that yet.
Hmm.
So we're hoping to build on that. I mean, it's an awesome opportunity to be able to build the reputation of an origin and position it as high quality, but also with the social and environmental values.
And I'm sure that doesn't come without personal stress.
Yeah, no. Operating a company in Madagascar has its own unique challenges. We were trying to get coffee out, that customers had bought. We were supposed to ship in November, and the power company was out for 8 hours today. So roasting coffee without electricity is tough. Milling coffee without electricity is tough. And we've got road challenges, etc. But it's I got to say, it's part of the fun. I mean, you just got to be in a problem solving mood. You can't let it get you down. You'll get beat up. And you just got to kind of move on to the next thing and tackle what you can. And, throw your hands up at what you can and let it go.
Can I ask how you draw on, like, how do you, and we can cut this out if this is too personal, but like, how do you, how do you draw on that resilience? Like, have you always been that way? Are you just constantly a positive person unlike Tim, or are you like, how do you do that?
Trav, if you don't mind, I'll answer this one for you.
Okay.
When Ryan is feeling down or distressed, he typically shoots me a text through WhatsApp and says, "Hey, do you have 8 minutes?" And I respond, "Yes." Ryan, I don't know if you saw our last episode yet. All right,
I have, and yeah. Tim, I think you'd give me 7 at the most, but
it's a very good question. And can I actually layer onto that real quickly before you answer it?
Go for it.
If that's okay, because you're becoming an expert in so many different areas. This is not just about how do you produce the best product and how do you work with farmers to collaborate together, but you're also having to learn about website design and shipping to the US and packaging, and there's probably so much more that I can't even fathom that you're having to become an expert in. I may be diverting a little bit from your question, Trav, so I don't mind, but I apologize. I didn't mean to say I don't mind. But it's just so many layers. How do you manage that?
Yeah, those are 2 different questions.
They are.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my bad.
But
all right.
let me try. It's all right. We'll try to hit both at some point. I think curiosity. So it's really fun. I mean, we knocked up a website on Shopify, and it was a blast. I kind of sit down and play with all the variables. It gets overwhelming when you need to manage it all. I spent the past 2 days trying to balance a balance sheet because we have this weird matching grant opportunity where there's a philanthropic donor which is giving us some money, and we got to figure out how to account for that. And I did an MBA, but I'm not an accountant, but I got to figure it out. The buck stops with me. So that's kind of one of the beauties of entrepreneurship is you got to be a jack of all trades. And I don't want to say master of nothing, but try to be a master of everything. But you got to kind of focus on what you're gonna get done that day. I've been really fortunate just at people reaching out and helping. I mean, RPCV reached out just a couple of weeks ago, and he's like, "Hey, I've done import export, and if you need help with that, just let me know." And we got on the phone. And he talked me through some things. When I got started, a buddy of mine from university reached out, and he was like, "Hey, let's talk about some things." And we connected every week, and it was really nice just to externalize my thoughts and get some feedback. Unfortunately, that person wasn't really contributing a lot, but it was nice to connect with him. Tim and I did go to university together, so yeah.
We did.
But Trav, back to your question, resilience. I mean, it's a battle, right? I think I stay positive and go at things, but get beat up sometimes, right? And life hits you. A couple things I've done. I started practicing jiu-jitsu a year and a half ago. That's just been an awesome outlet, and it teaches you a little bit of focus. It brings you out of your day-to-day, and just lets you burn off a little energy. Got into meditation, which was really helpful in terms of mindfulness. So the Waking Up app by Sam Harris was really useful. I do hit up friends from time to time, and every once in a while Tim too, just to try to talk through a couple of things, get an external point of view. And family is really important. So having the backing of my wife, being able to talk through things with that, really important to me. And I got 2 small kids, so they're 9 and 7, and just really nice. As bad as work can get, they're always happy to come home from school, play with the dog, and it just kind of puts things back in perspective.
Yeah, I think keeping perspective like that is important, for sure. You mentioned jiu-jitsu. You're talking about starting a lot of things later well, not later, but starting things new in life where some people wouldn't necessarily think to start, right? If you went to school with Tim, obviously you're probably roughly the same age as me in your 40s. So like starting something new like that while starting a business, like, I mean, I've done some jujitsu in the past. It's not exactly for the faint of heart. It's tough physically. It's tough mentally. Sometimes you're rolling around with much younger, stronger people. I mean, you don't seem afraid to jump into things, I guess is my point. Like that's you don't go into those things half-assed. So have you found that like meditation and jujitsu and this, are they all kind of interconnected in terms of your mentality in approaching things? Like clearly you're not afraid to jump in. Is this kind of a typical thing for you? Like you just jump with both feet, or is this all new now that you're at this stage in your life?
I think, well, I do jump into things. If you look back, I've done a lot of career shifts. We've jumped between countries. I don't think doing different things is scary. I think it's really fun and kind of keeps us alive. I do tend to bite off more than I probably should, and that sacrifices sleep. But we can sleep when we die. I think learning and trying to figure out new and exciting things, new ways of doing things, just it keeps life interesting.
Yeah, for sure. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, in that you're kind of speaking to the younger generation, right? The people who are maybe coming out of college or exploring what career means to them. And, I think your journey is really unique. So when you look back on it, is there a moment from your career that stands out to you that was very informative or that has really sort of transformed who you are today?
Gosh. One moment, something that comes to mind. My mom always told me do something interesting and opportunities will come up. So just to quickly chart my path, I mean, as a Peace Corps volunteer that did an MBA, that had a carbon startup that went into solar, I worked at a large textile company, and had never done fashion or fabrics or textiles. Then I pivoted over to public health, and we worked in sexual reproductive health, again, completely new area, then chocolate and vanilla, and now coffee. And the one common thread is do something interesting, right? So at the end of the day, you have customers or people you're trying to serve or benefit. You've got to do it on a budget with correct quality. And if you look at it through that lens, it's really nice. I mean, I feel very fortunate to have been able to do those different things, work with different teams, different populations. I think from a career perspective, it's been extremely interesting for me.
That's great advice. Do something interesting. I like that.
Yeah, that is cool. That's why I maintain my friendship with both of you.
You're the interesting one.
Ryan, when your coffee becomes more available in the States, give a quick pitch as to why someone should buy it versus the other coffee that's on the shelf.
Great question. For me, coffee is about the people. It's the people you're buying it from. You're sourcing it. Do they have the same values as you? And ideally, it should be the people you drink it with. I like to drink coffee by myself in the morning, but some of my best moments have been sitting with a buddy, having a cup of coffee, catching up about things. And I think if you know where it came from and the impact it's had, it connects you more to that coffee, to that moment. So I think that's how I would answer, Tim.
I'm 100% good with that, man. I am so excited for this to continue to grow because of your leadership and your position in it. And I know you're doing what you can with the people in each of these communities. And that's what's most important, right? So it's just, I love that. I love the way you answer that. I can't wait to get mine.
Nice. Tim, we got roaster over here. So
Look at that.
we're working on getting your coffee up and running.
That is awesome. Man, there's so much to continue to say about your
Seriously.
journey. It's just so exciting. But Trav, I think we should maybe hit up our impact question because otherwise most of our listeners will fall asleep.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to pull it up here real fast because sometimes I screw this up. Why don't you ask it real quick?
I think Ryan knows what it is, but basically, is there one person or experience that had a significant impact on the person you are today, and why?
Tim, if you did answer that for me. So
Stop pointing at yourself, Tim.
Tim and I were roommates in university, and as I started, I moved halfway across the world afterwards, and I've stayed here for 20 years. If I don't know how more profound of an impact you could have on one's life, but
Come on, man, answer it the right way.
That was perfect. That was the right way.
I thought about this a bit, and parents come out, spouse comes out. My wife's awesome. My kids have just, I think, changed my life. Just going back and finding excitement and everything, and wanting to have fun all the time. And life is just an adventure. So no matter how frustrated or beat up I can be by life, it's just great to be around the kids again. They just kind of spark joy again, and they bring so much meaning to family. So business is business, but it's really awesome to be able to go home and sit at dinner with everyone, hear how the day is, wake up in the morning and share breakfast. So I think my kids have changed my life for the better in ways I never would have expected before I was a father.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Ryan, you're a super guy, man, and we're really excited to see how this whole thing continues to build and grow. So Madagascar Coffee Company, there is a website. Could people place orders now?
We're looking at running orders through the year, so it'd probably be on 3-month cycles, because what we're looking at doing is roasting from Madagascar and then shipping direct to customer. So feel free to hit up the website, drop us an email if you're interested. Always happy to talk to people about coffee, what they're looking for, and what we're doing.
And it's MadagascarCoffeeCompany.com, or is that the URL?
It is MadagascarCoffeeCompany.com.
Well, Ryan, thank you very much, man. This has been really inspiring and so insightful. So thank you. We really appreciate your time and can't wait to see where things go.
Thanks, Trav. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Ryan. Very insightful, very interesting, and we wish you all the best in your endeavor. It sounds very, very fun.
It's pretty wild, yeah.
Tim, dog therapy. What's going on?
This is actually kind of a hard week, and I'm gonna have a serious moment here. So my parents very sadly had to put down one of their dogs. They have 2 dogs, or had 2 dogs, and lost one this week. Who had a great life and who they cared for tremendously and lived into a really wonderful old age. But man, oh man, seeing them grieve over this process and over the loss of this animal was very complicated and very hard. And my heart really breaks for them. And it certainly made me reflect a lot upon when that time comes for me. I mean, I've never had to do something like that, and I can't imagine the difficulty that must exist in having to make that decision. And gosh, I mean, I was in my head, I was sort of like living through the steps that they were going through as they, prepared for that moment. Everything from, being in the home the morning of to driving to the vet, like just a really terrible process. And I really feel for, anybody who has to go through something like that. So it's part of the deal. Right. This is what people sign up for when they do get animals. But, it made me reflect a lot about my own relationship to my dog, as crazy as that sounds. And,
Sure.
I'm not looking forward to that at all, to be honest with you.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was unfortunate.
That's really tough. And you know, it's one of those things. It's like, you know, it's coming.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, they just don't live as long as we do. But it's always too soon. We actually, in a really bad coincidence, one of our previous guests also lost their dog this week, and I know that was really tough. And so our hearts go out to Paul and Luann and everybody who's lost a pet. That just sucks. It just really sucks.
Yeah, it does.
But if you're going to silver lining it a little bit, the fact that it made you contemplate and look on your situation, look at you. Oh my gosh, you're so not willing to do that.
You know, I appreciate the fact that you always spin this in a positive way.
That's my role here.
I don't know about that. Can I say one thing positive too, however?
Please, I would love that.
I came home, I was picking up one of my kids the other day, and I came home at the end of the day, and in my front yard, you know my feeling towards cats, right?
I do.
Not my favorite animal.
Right.
I come home, and in my front yard, there's a cat with one eye staring at me. It was so creepy. So
this close to Halloween, that's kind of freaky.
It was terrifying. So I'm in my car, and this thing is just looking at me from probably about 15 yards away. And I didn't want to get out of my car. Okay, I'm sitting there, and my daughter's in the back seat, and I didn't tell her that I was scared, but I was terrified.
Oh.
And it stared at me. And so, wouldn't you know, the two front windows, all of a sudden, from the two front windows, which were open because it's been like 80 degrees in New Jersey, Abby starts barking at this. And Abby doesn't bark a lot. You know, she's pretty quiet in a lot of ways, which is wonderful. But she starts barking at this cat, and the cat runs off. And I was able to get out of my car.
Abby saved you.
You know, honestly, I was so grateful to her that day. I really was. I almost wanted to open the door and just let her chase that thing into another planet. That cat was terrifying.
You know, it's weird. Before I owned a dog, I thought the dog cat thing was all made up. Like, I just thought it was like kind of one of those things they talk about in silly TV shows. It's like low hanging fruit, but it's real. My Sierra hates cats.
Really?
Hates them.
Wow.
Like sees a stray or whatever walk through our yard and loses her mind.
Wow.
Absolutely loses it.
Well,
So it's a real thing.
that's good to know. Well, I can tell you one thing. I'll never own a cat. I can guarantee you that.
So next week will be hate mail from all the cat owners. Good job.
Nothing against cat owners. Nothing against cat owners. I'm allergic to them, and they're just not my thing.
Oh, you're
So-
allergic. That's right. I
Yeah,
forgot about
yeah.
that.
It's just not that we don't fit the two of
Yeah.
us. So
That's fair. That's fair. All right,
But
man.
listen-
Well, that about does it.
yeah, good talk. Good pod today. Great guest. Thank you, Trav. It's always fun to connect and catch up.
You too, man. Be good to Atlantic City. Don't gamble too much.
Yeah. I'm going to
All
bed.
right. All right. Thanks, everybody.
See ya.
Tim and Travis on the mic, talking life and what's alike. Middle age, it's quite the ride. Finding joy and chasing pride. Career dreams and daily grind. Funny moments that we find. Letting go of yesterday, making paths along the way. Middle age. Middle age mayhem breaking free, finding out who we can be, laughing, learning all the time. Tim and Travis in their prime. Every step a brand new plan, older, wiser, still we stand. Navigating through the years, sharing stories, laughs and cheers. Middle-aged mayhem breaking free, finding out who we can be, laughing, learning all the time. Tim and Travis in their prime. Every step a brand new plan, older, wiser, still we stand. Navigating through the years, sharing stories, laughs and cheers. Middle age, enjoying the fun, middle age has just begun. Tim and Travis lead the way, every episode will slay.
Let's dissect that.
That's gross.
Don't put that in the outtakes.
You got to stop saying that. I'm going to keep doing it. Dude, what's wrong with you?
Damn. Well, that makes me feel terrible.
Do you ever get done with this and realize like we talk about nothing?
And I have to remind myself to just shut up. I don't even know what I'm talking about.
We'll talk about that later.